Assembly members Backus, Brown May, Carter,
Present.
Dickman, Gallant, Gurr, Karas, Moore, Wynn, Urick, Chair Watts.
Secretary, please mark any that show up as present when they arrive. Thank you very much. And I want to welcome everyone in Carson City. Is there anybody, we do have a few people in Las Vegas and those following online. On our agenda today, we'll have 2 bill hearings and a work session. Before we begin, I would like to make several housekeeping announcements. First, I would like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones, your electronic devices, all of them, even your iPad, yeah, I've done that before, while in the committee room. Yes. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. We will be taking public comment at the end of today's meeting, and we will limit public comment to 2 minutes. Anyone wishing to provide public comment or testimony via phone, the call-in information is on the agenda, which is available online. And with that said, we're going to move in. We're not going to go into order. But we're going to do the 2 bill presentations first, starting with AB 439. Are the presenters here? Thank you very much. We will now hear AB 439, which revises provisions concerning the purchase or acquisition of certain unmanned aerial vehicles or other related equipment and services under certain circumstances. Welcome, Assemblymember Cole. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate it. So good afternoon, Vice Chair Carter and all of the wonderful committee members here. First, I wanted to say thank you very much for all of the hard work that you do in this committee. We recognize it. My name is Lisa. Oh, I was getting there. My name is Lisa Cole. I am the Assemblywoman for District 4 down in Las Vegas. It's the northwest part of town. You spell my name Lisacole, which is probably the easiest name in the entire building to spell. AB 439 is essentially a follow-up to a bill that was approved and signed into law by Governor Lombardo in 2023 session. That bill was SB 11. And about 2 years ago, this committee actually evaluated and heard that bill and approved the use of drones for various purposes by governmental agencies that included a limitation on sourcing by those agencies that align generally with Department of Defense requirements. Given the ever-evolving world of technology, we are here today with the request to modify the requirements in one area only. We acknowledge the nuance between the country that manufactures the physical housing for the drone and the location of where the information is being stored, because that's the real issue here. What agencies and vendors have recognized since passing SB 11 last session is that limiting the sources the way SB 11 did created that unintended consequence, which limited the list of available sources for good quality, highly reliable drones to do the work that's needed. AB 439 is meant to address that disconnect and allow well-intentioned limitations on sourcing to stand, but adding the needed discretion to ensure our agencies are equipped with the best available technology that still maintains national security standards. With Chair's permission, I'd like to now hand over to my co-presenters, Elliot Malin and Madison Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee. Elliot Malin for the record on behalf of Flock. First, I want to note that turns green unlike the Senate one, which just stays red. really fun fact there. So first, I want to say thank you to the committee for hearing this bill, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today. What we're trying to do is fix an inadvertent consequence that limited the competitive marketplace to hardware, which is neither cost competitive or the best available. I'm going to quickly go through the bill. It's not very long. And then I will hand it over to my colleague Madison Campbell from Flock. I'm going to start on Section 8, because that's the big change. So Section 8 permits a public agency or law enforcement agency, it permits them to be able to purchase a drone or unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, for the purpose of utilizing it. Again, the emphasis here is on public safety, so we are only talking about agencies within the state of Nevada. It allows them to take video, photograph recordings, and as long as that is onshore to the United States, so the data is accessible only in the United States and contained within the United States, say within a cloud or a physical site. We have quite a few of those here in the state, such as Switch. I know that we have a facility in Northern Nevada, and a facility, they have a facility in Southern Nevada as well. And that this data is stored exclusively within the United States and not accessible to third parties, that the public agency can then purchase and utilize these drones. What's going to happen here is it allows agencies to have more choice in a marketplace, which can lower the cost for the taxpayer and create a hopefully better system for our agencies. Madison.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Madison Campbell. I am part of the policy team at Flock Safety, where we are advancing drone as first responder technology to support first responders and emergency managers across the United States. Today, I want to discuss AB 439, its potential to continuously modernize drone use for emergency response. To talk about what my co-presenters discussed, there was an unintentional roadblock for first responders statewide that unintentionally limited access to some of this life-saving technology, particularly for rural and budget-constrained agencies. I think it's also important to note we are a completely American-based company, and we do domestic drone manufacturing as well. So we are in the process of trying to compete in this market to be able to provide drones that have this capability. Unfortunately, that will take a long amount of time. We're in the process of doing it. But in that vein, we want to make sure that first responders do have access to this technology, which does have an opportunity of being incredibly crucial and amazing for life-saving missions. And I like to talk about the differences that it can make. You know, it's the difference between reaching a structure fire in 60 seconds instead of 2 minutes, time that can mean saving a home, a business, or a life. It's the difference between covering 4 miles instead of 2, ensuring that every neighborhood, rural or urban, has access to the same level of protection. And it's the difference between locating a missing person in time or losing precious moments that can mean the difference between life and death. What we recommend is updating prior legislation to allow first responders access to some of these drones, foreign-based drones, as long as they maintain strict data security compliance. Under this approach, all data by the drones, as discussed by my co-presenters, will be securely stored in the United States and protected by the highest privacy standards, ensuring both safety and accountability. This policy would allow the state to lead the way in responsible drone deployment, balancing innovation with strong security and privacy protections, while companies like ours who work on trying to manufacture American drones can hopefully get up to speed. We've heard directly from agencies in the state eager to deploy drones, but currently hindered by some of these existing regulations, which is why we're here today. We look forward to working with the committee to craft a policy that hopefully strengthens both the public safety and security concerns and ensures that protecting our communities is at the forefront of everything that we do for this great state. Thank you so much.
We're good?
We're good.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Members of the committee, are there any questions? Let's go to Mr. Assemblyman Urick.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Great job leading today's meeting, and thank you, Assemblymember Cole, for the presentation. I fully think I understand what's going on here. You guys did a great job explaining it. I was looking at some of the technical language in subsection 8, and if I'm reading it correctly, it says, in order for a manufacturer to basically from another country to be approved to be selected, no data can be, according to, let's see, it's A2, no data can be accessible to a third party. Understanding how these things work and the black box data that we have on these, if that is accessible, for example, to the FAA, would that be a problem here?
Elliot Mallon for the record, that should not be a problem. When we're saying third party, we're talking about non-public entities. So for lack of a better example, my company's Alpine Strategies, I don't have access as a third party. Also, foreign adversaries or states would not have access to this data. That language is specific to trying to keep the national security infrastructure in place.
Assemblymember Yui.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just very happy that my first name is not murder. My question is, in terms of cost, you said that the purchase were to help, with taxpayers, obviously. Are there a distinction of cost between domestic products of these manufacturers versus the cost of these drones manufactured outside of the United States?
Yes, Madison Campbell for the record. Drones manufactured outside of the United States can cost only $5,000 to $10,000 versus ones that are manufactured in America can cost upwards of $100,000. So the cost is very prohibitive for specifically rural agencies that will be unable to afford this technology.
Follow-up, Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that we protect the interests of, obviously, I think along the line of what my colleague mentioned, that will we be able to make sure that there's deterrence, even if we buy the products from a manufacturer that is outside of the U.S., that the technology is secure to protect, right, our interests, if those were made by countries that are not friendly to the U.S.
Elliot Mallon for the record, I think I got that. The question's really about the protections and the ability to maintain that. So our intent, you can correct me if I'm wrong with the question, so I apologize, is to make sure that this is a cost-effective way for there to be a competitive market, but also ensuring that the data is securely stored in the United States. Flock itself is a technology company. The mechanism that they use is stored here in the United States. It's not outsourced to foreign adversaries or other companies outside of the United States. So our intent is to make sure that everything is stays within the United States and is safe here.
I just want to make sure that's on record, so thank you for clarifying that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for bringing this forward. I remember last session, we were talking about this because we wanted to make sure that our data was secure. Unfortunately, I don't think we could foresee that the Biden administration was essentially going to suppress technology and just like the advancement of American drones, right, which is kind of why we're here today. So here's the thing, and I'm sort of piggybacking on my colleague's question, is that China is like very, very good at putting spyware in everything. I mean, we see it with TikTok, like they're going to have to just rewrite that entire algorithm if it's going to remain here in the United States. So what steps do you guys take when you purchase a drone from, say, like China, and then to ensure that there's not some like secret spyware in there so that you can ensure? I'm sure there's steps. I would just like to hear about them.
Madison Campbell for the record. So we take both a software and a hardware approach, right? One of the most important things is ensuring from a hardware approach that there is nothing within the physical device when it comes onto our shore that could be potentially adversarial or collect any data that hopefully is not going to ever go back anywhere else. So we have where we manufacture our drones will be in Georgia, and we will be able to take those drones and actually make sure that there is no hardware components specifically that could have any privacy or security concerns. And then from a software perspective, we're able to take all of the specific data in regards to the drones and make sure that none of that data is uploaded anywhere. So when it is recording video, that data is stored in GovCloud, and that cannot be received by anyone from a foreign adversary. So really, it's a multifaceted approach, and we can also provide the committee with our step-by-step of exactly how everything is done, both from a hardware and from a software perspective, so that you guys can see how both us as an American company, but really any other American company can do this as well.
Assemblymember Dickman?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just a quick question, actually along the lines of what Assemblyman Yurek was asking. You said what your intent is with this third-party language, but should it be more specific? So that, you know, if the FAA, could there be problems if it wasn't a little more specific?
Madison Campbell for the record. We're happy to get very, very specific with the data privacy and security steps that we believe are the most crucial in order to ensure the data is completely secure. We kind of left this as our first draft to be a little bit broad, but I do have the exact steps that can be taken to ensure that that data privacy and security concerns are mitigated.
And accessibility to a party who would have actually legally need it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Assembly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. My apologies for missing the beginning of the presentation. So if you've stated this and it's redundant, again, I apologize. First, we worked really hard, as my colleagues stated, on this specific issue last session, and to make sure that we incorporated country, given that China was doing some unscrupulous things with our data and having access. Specifically, there's a news report identifying that from the BBC, that identified President Biden investing $280 billion in high tech to compete with China back in 2022. I'm curious to know, why is it that important to eliminate the word country in this bill presentation?
Elliot Mallon for the record. I believe that is going to be on page 3. So the list that is publicized by the Department of Defense lists entities on it. When I looked at it, it wasn't country. So I went and looked it up, and it could also list country, but the actual list, when I was looking at it, for the entities that were prohibited were companies that were tied to the Chinese military.
Any other questions from members? Well, thank you very much, and now we'll move into the public testimony. We'll do it in order. We'll hear support, opposition, and neutral on AB 439. Please keep testimony to 2 minutes and avoid repeating prior testimony. Clearly state and spell your name for the record, and we will begin testimony in support. Is anybody here in Carson City to testify in support? Don't see any, so we'll move to Las Vegas. Anybody down in Las Vegas to testify in support? None down there, so we'll move AVH. Is there anybody on the line in support?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 439, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to opposition. Anybody in Carson City here to testify in opposition? Well, pretty simple today so far. Anybody in opposition in Las Vegas? And AVH, is there anybody on the line in opposition?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 439, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you very much. So we'll move into the final category. Anybody in Carson City here to testify in neutral? Anybody in Las Vegas? AVH, is there anybody on the line to testify in neutral?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 439, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral.
Wow, very smooth, not like 2 years ago. So, Assemblymember Cole, do you have any closing remarks?
I just want to say thank you very much for having me.
Say your name.
Oh, sorry, Lisa Cole, for the record. That's my first time saying that, by the way. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time and the energy that this committee brings to this bill and all of the others. And thank you for the world's fastest hearing.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember. And with that, we'll close the hearing on AB 439. And now we're going to move into our hearing on Assembly Bill 417, which revises provisions relating to public safety. Welcome, Assemblymember Hunt. Please go ahead when you're ready and make sure to introduce yourself for the record.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, Vice Chair Watts and members of the committee. My name is Linda Hunt, Lindahunt, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 17 in beautiful North Las Vegas. I'm proud to be here today to present Assembly Bill 417. I mean, this builds upon our previous legislative efforts to address the growing danger of trick driving and speed contests in our community. You know, I want to share a personal story that I had with one of my constituents. You know, I remember talking to her and her husband, and they had concerns about the trick drivers, you know, in their neighborhood, you know, racing up and down their streets, until one night they actually came through their wall right by their bedroom. And now her and her husband, you know, they live in fear, not knowing if they're going to be sleeping at night and it's going to happen again. So, you know, basically this bill is building off the efforts that's led by Clark County Commissioner Kirkpatrick and also our Assembly member Tracy Brown May from last session. She worked on this bill. So right now I want to play a video. It don't have any sound, but it, you know, give you a visual of what we're talking about. Thank you. Again, Linda Hunt for the record. So basically, AB 417 is about public safety, stronger enforcement and accountability for vehicles owner. Today, I am joined with my co-presenter here in Carson. We have Ashley Kennedy. She's representing Clark County. Joining us from Southern Nevada, we have Andrew Bennett, Clark County Director of Traffic Safety, and Officer Mike Till from the Traffic Bureau of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. So to begin, I will turn this over to Mr. Bennett and Officer Till, who will provide a brief history of our effort to combat this issue, explain the law enforcement perspective, and outline why AB 417 is necessary.
Thank you, Assemblymember Andrew Bennett, for the record. ANDREWBENNETT. Vice Chair Carter, members of the Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committee, good afternoon. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of the Clark County Office of Traffic Safety. And today we are here to talk about a behavior that is directly impacting the safety of our roadways. And that behavior is trick driving, as the Assemblymember said. And trick driving in Nevada has a relatively recent history, and I wanted to take a moment to go through that history. Previous to 2019, there wasn't a definition for the behavior that you saw in that video. But in 2019, Assemblymember Tom Roberts passed a bill to define trick driving for the first time. Last session, as the Assemblymember mentioned, we had the privilege to work with Assemblymember Brown May to pass provisions related to the law enforcement's ability to ticket and to tow, which was a new tool to curb these street takeovers. And unfortunately, Nevada continues to go in the wrong direction when it comes to our fatalities that we're experiencing on our local and state roadways. Last year, we had 412 fatalities on Nevada's roadways, and all too often, speed, reckless driving, and trick driving contributed to too many of those fatalities. Safer vehicles is a primary component of the safe streets approach, or the safe systems approach to traffic safety, which is the national approach to traffic safety. Ensuring that vehicles have the minimum safety standards, I think, is a policy priority that we can all get behind. In my capacity as the Director of the Clark County Office of Traffic Safety, I attend way too many fatalities when the road is shut down and when my colleagues from Metro are investigating. And all too often, and we saw it this week as well, that basic equipment could have prevented these fatalities that we are seeing. And so to explain further from a law enforcement perspective, it's my privilege to pass it over to Officer Mike Teal from LVMPD Traffic Bureau.
Officer Mike Teal for the record. Thank you, Andrew. Over the last year, since the implementation of the ticket in tow, that's given us an enforcement strategy to be able to take these unsafe vehicles off the road from the street takeovers or our reckless drivers that do not meet or do not have the basic safety equipment for their vehicles. Why AB 417 is necessary, it's in many ways, it's to help get the illegal and unsafe vehicles off our roads. We had 160 fatalities just in our jurisdiction alone. And when you look at the amount of unsafe vehicles that are going on during these trick driving events or street takeovers, they are missing the basic by law standard of safety equipment, airbags, reflectors, mirrors, things that are just there to make sure the vehicles on the roads are safe. Some even have their steering wheels modified to where they don't have airbags for their drivers to have an airbag while they're operating. This bill helps us get them off the road, and thinking about the number of fatalities and reducing those fatalities, getting these vehicles off the road helps us hopefully reduce those fatal collisions by having these vehicles off the road. The one thing that we look at when it comes to how the enforcement strategy works is we do like to work with our partners. And I want to say as we close that I do ask that this bill is implemented sooner rather than later. Because here in Clark County, we do have a distinct difference of weather, and this behavior continues year-round. It's not just a season that we see this. It is an entire year that our teams and our patrol officers go out and see this type of behavior because of our weather down here. With that, I give it back to the Assembly member.
For the record, my name is Linda Hunt. Thank you, Mr. Bennett and Officer Till, for your insight. Chair, before I ask Ms. Kennedy to walk through the provisions of the bill, I want to emphasize that this work is in progress. I mean, that this is a work in progress. You know, we've been actively engaging with stakeholders to ensure we can strengthen enforcement measures within existing processes without placing an undue burden on any one agency. We will continue working with all interested parties to bring a future amendment to this committee. But I want to be clear about our intent. The DMV already has the authority to temporarily cancel a vehicle registration if it is deemed unsafe or unfit for the road. Law enforcement also has the ability to issue citations for such vehicles. With AB 417, our goal is straightforward. We want to reduce the number of vehicles involved in speed contests and trick driving. To do this, we propose that any vehicle cited for trick driving or speed contests that does not meet current safety requirement be reported to the DMV. The DMV, with their current authority, can temporarily cancel that vehicle's registration, requiring the owner to bring it into compliance within 30 days. We understand from our conversation with public defenders that some repairs may take longer, and we are actively exploring options to accommodate reasonable extensions. With that, Vice Chair, with your permission, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Kennedy to walk through the bill.
Thank you, Vice Chair Carter and members of the committee. My name is Ashley Kennedy, representing Clark County. I will go through the provisions of the bill. To make it a little bit easier to follow, I'm going to present it out of order. Section 3 requires a police officer investigating a speed contest or trick driving display to inspect the vehicle for any violations of Nevada's current vehicle safety laws. Again, as our presenters from down south indicated, vehicles must meet basic safety standards such as functional lights, brakes, signals, windows, mirrors, and mufflers to be legally operated on the road. Illegal aftermarket modifications, such as modified suspensions or tires without tread, pose serious safety risks. If a vehicle is found to be unsafe or non-compliant, the officer must issue a citation to the registered owner and submit a copy of that citation to the Department of Motor Vehicles within 5 days. Currently, engaging in a speed contest, organizing a race, or participating in trick driving is already a misdemeanor under Nevada law. Violators face driver's license suspensions and potential vehicle impoundment at the court's discretion. Section 5 of AB 417 strengthens this by requiring courts to send impoundment orders to the DMV within 5 days of issuing them. Looking at Section 4, we've been in discussions with the DMV. We recognize the need for some adjustments to this section. As currently written, the bill would have required DMV inspectors to conduct safety inspections at impound lots. However, given staffing constraints, we will be proposing an amendment after the hearing to the committee that instead, once the DMV receives a citation from law enforcement or an impound order from the court, the vehicle's registration will be temporarily canceled and the owner will receive a notification of inspection. This notice will require them to visit the DMV for a safety inspection within 30 days. As was mentioned, the DMV has the authority to cancel a vehicle's registration if it is deemed unsafe for the road. Under Section 1, if a registered owner fails to correct safety violations within 30 days, the DMV is required to rescind or cancel the vehicle's registration. As Assemblymember Hunt mentioned, we are in conversations with the public defenders to figure out a way for a reasonable extension if somebody does go to the DMV in good faith, but does not have enough time to do the repairs, if they're extensive, some type of extension. So we'll be bringing that forward in a future amendment as well. That concludes my portion, and Vice Chair, and I will turn it back over to Assembly Member Hunt.
Hi, Linda Hunt for the record. Okay, in conclusion, you know, reckless speed contests and trick driving put lives at risk. We've seen intersections taken over for hours and races held on long stretches of road, creating dangerous conditions for drivers, pedestrians, and law enforcement alike. AB 417 strengthened enforcement against reckless driving to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities in Nevada's roads. So right now, we stand open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Hunt, and members of your team presenting. Do we have any questions from members? We've got Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you for the presentation. This is a big issue that we're seeing even in my district, District 11, which is in the middle of the urban core. I've had to call to report a street takeover not too long ago. But my question has to do with the DMV and how this bill would enable them to cancel registrations and make it so folks can bring their vehicle back to code, safely driving conditions. But one of the things that we see a lot in Nevada roads are a lot of vehicles are not registered, they don't even have a license plate. So how do you plan on dealing with those vehicles that are not registered with the DMV?
Thank you, Assemblymember Moore, Ashley Kennedy, for the record. I will turn that over, and the DMV, we do have representatives from the DMV here who can probably answer questions during their neutral testimony about that. But I will defer to Officer Teal in the field of how they handle vehicles when they're not registered.
Officer Mike Teal for the record. I will actually pass it over to my counterpart with the DMV, JD.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair, committee members. Through you, Vice Chair, to Assemblymember Moore. In answer to your question, NRS 484D.230.
Name, please.
Sorry, JD Decker, Chief of the Nevada DMV's Compliance Enforcement Division. I apologize. NRS 484D.230 is the statute that the department uses, which states that a vehicle will not drive in an unsafe condition. And then NRS 482.540 states that a vehicle may be seized without a warrant by any peace officer which is being operated with improper registration. I hope that answers your question as to the authority that law enforcement has to the improper registration.
Thank you. May I have? My follow-up to that question is, how will canceling these folks' vehicle registration help drive down the numbers for the street takeovers and trick driving?
JD Decker, for the record, through you, Vice Chair, to Assemblymember Moore. So currently, the department's law enforcement division has a process in which we see vehicles on the road that they may be unsafe, they may be violating emission standards, they may have registration problems, and we are able to issue a notice of inspection, which notifies the legal owner that they have 30 days to bring the vehicle back to a DMV VIN inspection station and clear the violation prior to reinstating the registration. So the notice of inspection is combined with the temporary cancellation of the registration with a 30-day window for the person to come back and clear those violations. Those are for violations that are curable. For violations that are, for example, just suspended registration or some type of improper registration, no insurance, or a safety standard that's an imminent public safety threat, the department and law enforcement across Nevada can exercise an impound instead of that. But this is kind of a process in the middle of that where the person keeps their car. They're not legal to drive on the road. Their registration's been canceled, and possibly their plate has been impounded. The department does that as well. But they're still in possession of the car for the purposes of curing the deficiency in the violation and then being able to reinstate everything to be legal.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I remember trying to address this last year, right? It was a really good bill, and then this like toe portion of the bill got amended into it, and then it became bad. So I'm glad that you brought it back. But I guess I want to make sure that we're going to address just the trick cars and the trick driving, because I know the officer up there talked about like airbags, right? Like they might not have airbags. Well, there's a lot of older vehicles that don't have airbags. And some of the classic cars, things like that, that don't have some of the modern safety features that we see in vehicles. So how are we going to make sure that this law is not going to apply to those types of cars?
Thank you, Ashley Kennedy, for the record. I'll turn it over to my presenters down south to see if they had any insights on how we handle classic vehicles that may not have all of the safety equipment.
Or even just older
Cars, yeah.
Thank you for the question. Andrew Bennett for the record, with my colleague to my right from Las Vegas Metro. NRS is clear that certain vehicles are grandfathered into some of the safety inspection standards, such as airbags, such as seat belts. And those are clearly outlined in NRS, and they would not be required to, if they fall under those provisions of being grandfathered, built before a certain year, they would be exempt from this.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for allowing me to have a second question. This is just a point of clarification on a statistic that was mentioned earlier. It was mentioned that there have been 160 fatalities. I just need clarification. Was it just this for, were these fatalities due to trick driving?
Officer Mike Teal for the record. No, that was total fatalities that we had on our roadways.
Sorry. My follow-up to that is, do you have a number for how many fatalities we've had due to trick driving?
Officer Mike Teal for the record. I do not have that in front of me, but I'm happy to get that on a follow-up for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for the bill presentation. And I want to congratulate all of those who are in support of this issue, especially down south, right, Mr. Bennett, Officer Teal, Mr. Decker, and all of your hard work to support our community with regard to trick driving and saving lives. We did do a lot of work last session, and it was tow without arrest, which gave our officers, I think, another opportunity to be able to remove what was being considered a weapon. I'm curious to know, do we have any data around how many times did we utilize that provision that was written into statute last session? And then do we have any data around how many instances of trick driving are taking place on our roads today? And you're welcome to separate it by county if you have it available, but I would love to know, was there any progress made with regard to the work that has already been done?
Linda Hunt for the record. I'll refer that question to our expert up south.
Officer Mike Teal for the record. I don't have those numbers specifically in front of me. I can follow up with our RAID team and see how much that they have utilized that. I know that they keep the statistics for that. So if you allow me to follow up with that, I can get that to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Very good. We're going to move now into testimony in support, opposition, and neutral of AB 417. We ask again that you keep your testimony to 2 minutes and try to avoid repeating testimony made by previous speakers. It's always okay to say ditto. And please step up, state your name for the state and spell your name for the record, and you've got 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Carter, members of the committee. I am Jason Walker, Jasonwalker, representing the Washoe County Sheriff's Office as well as the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association. We appreciate Assemblymember Hunt as well as the co-sponsor for bringing this bill forward. We supported the trick driving bill last session and believe it made a difference, even if it was a small one. Happy to support Assembly Bill 417 with its provisions in an effort to continue to grind away at these dangerous acts.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair Carter. Excellent job. I love the enthusiasm, sir. And the members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrew McKay, M-A-C-K-A-Y. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. We support this bill simply put because it's a good bill. Anything that has a definitive impact that protects the public is a good bill. However, I think the committee needs to know a couple of things that is good with respect particularly the inspection aspect. Oftentimes, these vehicles is alluded to by the experts. Critical safety features are taken out of those vehicles. And when you look in terms of 484D, there are a litany of things that a vehicle has to meet in order to be roadworthy. Included those are emissions, the emission systems, the mufflers. Oftentimes, these street racers will either modify or completely eliminate them. And then an unsuspecting buyer will then buy that vehicle down the road. And then he or she simply cannot register and drive that vehicle until that is rectified, and those repairs can exceed thousands and thousands of dollars. So while it is a public safety standpoint in terms of protecting lives, this is going to protect people's pocketbooks as well. And in my humble opinion and the association's opinion, it's going to eliminate fraud that exists in today's marketplace. So, Mr. Vice Chair, welcome, Mr. Chair. Great seeing you all. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Carter, for running the meeting in my absence. All right, seeing no one here in Carson City coming forward and no one down in Las Vegas, AVH, do we have anyone wishing to provide testimony by phone?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 417, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 417. Anyone wishing to provide opposition in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing none at this time, AVH, can we please check the phones?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 417, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And finally, we'll move to testimony in neutral on Assembly Bill 417. Okay, not seeing Mr. Sever getting up. AVH, can we check the phone lines?
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but we have no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you. Would the bill sponsor like to make any closing remarks?
Thank you. Linda Hunt for the record. Thank you, Chair. Welcome back. Vice Chair. And I also want to correct something earlier. I meant to say thank you for your question as well, Assembly Brown May. I'm sorry. You know, I just like to give props and respect. Okay, so I just want to thank everyone, you know, and the committee members, you know, for considering this critical public safety bill. You know, I urge your support for AB 417, and I want to thank my guys up south, and I want to also thank my co-presenter, okay? I appreciate you guys. Thank you. AB 417.
All right. Thank you very much. I look forward to reviewing the presentation when I watch the recording. With that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 417. Members, we will now begin our work session. We have three bills up for consideration today on our work session: Assembly Bill 20, Assembly Bill 32, and Assembly Bill 168. With that, I am going to turn it over to our policy analyst, Ms. Latham, to walk us through our work session document.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Keely Latham, Policy Analyst with the Legislative Council Bureau. As nonpartisan staff, I cannot advocate for or against any measure that this committee will consider. On the work session today is Assembly Bill 20, which revises provisions relating to the Department of Motor Vehicles. The bill is sponsored by this committee on behalf of the DMV and was heard on February 20th. Assembly Bill 20 authorizes the DMV to adopt and imprint individualized symbols or codes for different medical conditions on driver's licenses or identification cards. Additionally, the bill authorizes the DMV to communicate by electronic mail with the registered owner of a motor vehicle for certain purposes if the owner elected to receive information electronically. An amendment in conceptual form was proposed by the DMV to remove the term first class before mail to clarify that a DMV request for information to verify liability insurance coverage of a motor vehicle can be sent by mail other than first class mail. The amendment also replaces the term electronic mail with electronic notification and authorizes the department to use signature service with delivery confirmation mail instead of certified mail when sending an owner a notice of suspension. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions on the amendment or on this measure? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 20.
I move to amend and do pass.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice Chair Carter. I have a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. And I will assign that floor statement to Vice Chair Carter, since he was so vociferous in his motion. We will now move on to Assembly Bill 32.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Keely Latham with the LCB. Assembly Bill 32 is sponsored by this committee on behalf of Carson City and was heard on February 18th. Assembly Bill 32 directs the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Growth and Infrastructure to conduct a study during the 2025-26 interim concerning the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway of Carson City and Story County. The study shall include, without limitation, a comprehensive evaluation of the Commission's current structure, duties and powers, and long-term financial viability. The committee shall include in its final interim report the findings and certain recommendations for legislation relating to the study, as well as recommendations for actions that the Commission or any other entity may take to improve the long-term financial viability and certain other recommendations. There were no proposed amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions on Assembly Bill 32? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 32.
So moved.
I have a motion from Assemblymember Brown May, a second from Vice Chair Carter. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? I have one nay from Assemblymember Gallant. That motion does carry. And as the member of the committee closest to the area, Assemblymember Dickman, can I assign that floor statement to you? Thank you. We will now move on to Assembly Bill 168.
Keely Latham, LCB, for the record. Assembly Bill 168 revises provisions relating to bicycles, electric bicycles, and electric scooters. The bill is sponsored by Assemblymember Goulding and was heard in this committee on February 20th. The bill requires individuals operating a bicycle, electric bicycle, or electric scooter to stop at a stop sign or a signal displaying a steady red light. However, they may proceed cautiously through an intersection controlled by a stop sign without stopping, or an intersection where the signal is a steady red signal after initially stopping, if certain requirements are met. Additionally, the bill prohibits a person operating a bicycle, or electric scooter from turning left through an intersection with a steady red signal unless turning onto a one-way street. An amendment in conceptual form was proposed by Assemblymember Goulding to remove electric bicycles and electric scooters from the bill, thereby limiting the bill's provisions to bicycles only, and to add Assemblymembers Brown May, Dickman, and Watts as co-sponsors. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Members, any questions on the bill or the amendment that was presented? Okay. Seeing none, I would accept a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 168. I've got a motion before I could even get it out there by Assemblymember Dickman and a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to congratulate the sponsor on her hard work relative to this issue and separating electric bicycles and scooters out of this provision around bicycles. I think it's really important that we have a lot of work to do in our future, but that we look at bicycles specifically and independently.
Thank you very much. Members, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? That motion carries unanimously. And I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Goulding, with Assemblymember Dickman as a backup.
Thank you.
Okay, that does conclude our work session. We do have a couple of other items of business. We have a couple of committee bills that have been brought forward, so we are going to take votes to introduce those bills. As a reminder, a vote to introduce a bill does not provide any indication as to your future support or opposition to a bill. It simply allows us to get the bill introduced so that we can potentially have a hearing and continue to move it through the process. So the first bill that we have for introduction today is BDR 58-1114, which revises provisions relating to limousines. I will now take a motion to introduce that BDR. I have a motion from Assemblymember Nguyen. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Energetic bunch today. I have a second from Assemblymember Urick. Yeah, it's very enthusiastic. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. And additionally, we have BDR number 40-424, which revises provisions relating to the collection, disposal, and retirement of certain types of waste. Do I have an enthusiastic motion to introduce this BDR?
So moved.
Oh, thank you. Assemblymember Gurr, do I have a second? A second? A cool, calm, collected second from Assemblymember Gallant. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, thank you very much, members. That does bring us to our very last item on our agenda today, which is public comment. If anyone would like to make public comment in person in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. If anyone would like to make public comment by phone, please call 888-475-4499. When prompted, provide the meeting ID 8860359665 and then press the pound sign. Seeing nobody coming forward in person at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide public comment by phone?
If you wish to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
All right, thank you. Members, that concludes our business for today. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 25th at 1:30 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.